I would like to introduce our chief guest for the day, who started his career in 1999 from pharmaceutical field, being a pharmacist from Bharati Vidyapit's Pune College of Pharmacy under the guidance of Dr. Shivaji Rao Kadam. After 3 years of dabbling into pharma, he joined Brit Worldwide in 2001. Here, he started at the executive level and rose to become country manager India in 2012. Presently, he is the head Asia Pacific, overseeing Singapore and Malaysia markets along with India. His core focus is transformational training. During his journey of more than 20 years, he has developed an in-depth understanding of network marketing business, its functioning and business building dynamics. He has successfully translated his experience and knowledge to formulate many training tools and service initiatives that have helped Brit Worldwide support individual businesses of more than 500,000 direct sellers. We are proud to invite our alumni, Head Asia Pacific Brit Worldwide, Mr. Amit Tipnis sir. I request Amit sir to grace the stage through his splendid words.
Good morning to you all, and thank you for a fantastic start to this conference. Definitely, I like to thank first Dr. Purvi madam. She gave me a call and she thought that I can add some value to this particular conference. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Anjali madam, for showing that fighting spirit and taking this college initiative ahead, various initiatives ahead, and making that change happen. I also thank Dr. Vilas Rao Kadam sir. During our alumni meets, we have been interacting with him, and I definitely find him very receptive, very prompt, very alert, and he definitely wants to make the things happen for Bharati Vidyapit, especially in this geographical area. I am fortunate to be a student of Dr. Shivaji Rao Kadam, and I have seen him since my student days, and I can definitely tell you one thing through our close interaction with him, that this person has amazing vision, and our interaction always was very fruitful, and he had very simple solutions to our complex issues. So I definitely pay my respects to him. The unparalleled contribution which is shown towards Bharati Vidyapit University is really amazing, and I'm sure that subconsciously, if any vision part that I have imbibed, that probably could be from his working when we have watched him closely from close quarters. Of course, Dr. Saruke is the Vice Chancellor now for Bharati Vidyapit. I haven't got an opportunity to work with him, but I'm sure he would also have a fantastic vision for Bharati Vidyapit University. And nonetheless, young dynamic Dr. Vishwajit Kadamji, who can definitely add that young flavor to this particular university and can make Bharati Vidyapit University a force to reckon with in the academic world. As I understand that this is a joint conference between Bharati Vidyapit and APJ University, APJ School. So I pay my respects to APJ Institute officials as well, and I'm sure that this two-day conference is going to churn out a lot of ideas, and we will have some good, worthwhile takeaways. Well, madam, I definitely listened to your conference, your slides, and many things came out of that. Of course, some of the aspects which you mentioned definitely require individual discussions for the entire day probably. So we may not have that much time, but some very important aspects you have touched base upon. Definitely, I have made some of my points. The conference is on circular economy. So when we talk of circular economy, for sure the first thing that comes to our mind is the manufacturing sector, the manufacturing part of it. For sure, yes, there are tons and tons of papers written. We can find them online and also through respected publications on how to channelize all the resources and how to maximize the value out of those resources. People have very interesting way of manufacturing products. They have very interesting way of sourcing raw material, and they have very interesting way of processing different products. So definitely when it comes to circular economy, the first thing that comes to our mind is the manufacturing part, and rightly so. You showed through your presentation the journey, the industrial revolution, how it happened, and how the evolution happened there. As I understand that this is a 2-day conference. When I saw the brochure sent to me by Dr. Pujari Madam, well, there are lots and lots of academicians, stalwarts who are going to do their presentation here, and I'm sure that we are going to have fantastic ideas coming out of this. I would like to maybe leave behind a particular thought. Now that thought could be maybe relevant to for further discussion, or it can be taken as an idea and we can take the things ahead and further work on it. Personally, I am working in the transformational training space for the past 20 years now. So if I have to say about myself, I am completely into people's business. So that is the aspect which I would like to touch base on. Of course, you touch base about that in one of your slides when you spoke about human resources. But I would like to speak on that aspect here. Of course, we would have stalwarts and academicians talking on circular economy and the manufacturing processes and the products and how interestingly they make it and how they extract as much value as possible. So when we talk of this circularity or circular economy, there are 3 key pillars, where one of the pillars is you increase the product life cycle. That's one of the pillars. There is another pillar where you completely change the ownership, or you keep the ownership, you retain the ownership. And then there is a pillar which calls for recycling. Well, what I have done here is these pillars of these principles which we have, I am trying to apply that into the human resources, into the human element part of it. Mind you, I am not treating the human resource as a commodity, but I am trying to see if we can extract as much value as possible from the human resources. So of course, when we talk of the products in circular economy, what we try to do, we try to make them as durable as possible. We try to remanufacture them. We try to repair them as much as possible. And maybe finally we try to recycle them. Now, all these aspects cannot be straight taken as a concept for human resources. But to explain this particular point, I will try my level best to take my company's example, BEWW Global, and explain you that what happened when the pandemic started. Today you will find each and every company talking about pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, because pre-pandemic the dynamics was completely different. Post-pandemic the dynamic is different, and we as industry, we are still reeling under that effect. Now overnight, let me take the case about my company, BWW Global. We are into transformational training. Our expertise is to conduct mass training programs, and training programs are to the tune of 10,000 attendees, 5,000 attendees at one go. I mean, of course, we do small training seminars for an attendance of around 500. For us, a 500 or a 700 attendance is a small training seminar, and we have gone as high as 10,000. February 2020, we started getting lots and lots of news of COVID-19, and that is when we started feeling the heat. Of course, the entire effect was never seen, but we started feeling the heat of COVID-19, and then we never knew where this is going to come and end. We never knew for how long this phase is going to last. Fortunately, we all are getting back to normalcy, and that's fantastic. We all are here, hale and hearty. By God's grace, we should thank God, thank our stars that we are here to see this day. I thank God every day to have shown me this day so that I can interact with you all, such fantastic people sitting here and many more online. So I thought that why not take the example of my own company and try to drive a particular point, try to leave a thought behind, so that maybe when the churning happens over the next 2 days, probably some new ideas might come up. So February 2020, when the COVID-19 news started trickling in, and we used to have like a complete year-long training calendar, and that's when for the first time in my 20 years of association with this company, we started seeing mass cancellations. Okay, and then when we started seeing mass cancellations, definitely like a electric switch on and switch off, we started facing the heat economically. And when we started facing the heat economically, first and foremost, we all got together and tried to put our thinking hats together and try to find out how to tackle this particular situation. So one was external with our customers, and most important, internal, because we value our human resources. Being into transformational training, if we don't value our internal resources, I think that is like double standards. And as the head of the organization, I had several and very, very uncomfortable decisions to make. One is to literally dump a particular section of people, or try and see what we can do here with these people. And by these people I meant, because I am taking an actual case, we have a full-fledged events department. Now when there is a complete lockdown, when the country stands still, what do you feel this events department is going to do? Play marbles? And what do you feel these valuable team members whom we have cultivated over these years, what do? We just dump them. They have contributed to the success of the company. Unparalleled hard work they have shown in conducting big seminars. Imagine you are conducting a seminar for 10,000 people. That's a whole lot of work. So then what do? So the biggest headache for us was this events department, which was completely redundant overnight. There was one more department which was completely redundant for us, which was the travel department. What do we do with them? There is no travel. So just tell them that, okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the services you have put in, and we are dumping you. Is that what we can do? We cannot, because the training part which we were giving to all our customers, the transformational training part, the attitudinal part, how can we show those kind of double standards and not have that for our team members? But we had a certain product line which was running, because we are a training company. We already had our online training products, our online training packages for a particular section of our customers, because it's a commercial training. So then what we did is, we got all these people together online and we started training them to sell these particular products. Mind you, we took them for the event management, but then suddenly we got them converted into sales. All these people, they wanted a career in event management. So then we left them with a choice. Either you are out, which we don't want that to happen, or at least for a temporary phase, you convert yourself into sales. Same thing we did with our events department. With our travel desk. Now travel desk, again, we understood that, okay, they came with a very, very different mindset and they may not be good salesmen. Then what do? We got them into our future research projects. So we got them to do research for us and present those kind of papers to us. Initially what they were giving us was absolutely irrelevant. But I had that at the back of my mind, that I am getting these things done from a travel desk guy. Please try to understand. What are we trying to do here? Is we are trying to churn our people as much as possible into our system itself and not let them go out of our system. As I understand that when it comes to circular economy, it is manufacturing, but in a way, we are using this, we are trying to extract as much value as possible from our human resources, which is also a very, very important aspect. When madam you showed about the industrial revolution, and when you showed about the fourth industrial revolution and the automation, a very, very important element is involved, that's the human resource. Without human resource, you can't do that. We also had another department which was suddenly redundant. Now, I never thought that this particular department will become redundant. That is purchase. There is no purchase happening. What do I do with these people? And they were absolutely hawks for us. And they were adding value. They were helping us sustain in this very, very competitive market. What do I do? Tell them, just vanish? So then what we did is that we mapped their competencies. Of course, we have our in-house psychometrics. On the basis of that, we mapped their expertise, and something surprising got churned out. Now these purchase people, they were very good into operational audits. That's what our tests gave us. And then we put them into the operational audit part of it. So what we are trying to do here is, we are trying to extract as much value as possible from our human resources and ensure that they stay within the system, and then they don't go into the dump. Here it is, the analogy I can give is that, what do manufacturing sector do? Manufacturing sector tries to extract as much value as possible from their products and prevent them from going to the landfills. And that's exactly what we were trying to do with our human resources, and ensure that these people, they don't become deadwood, and then they are also trying to wonder what to do and maybe add to the country's unemployment rate, because we all know what happened to the country's unemployment rate post COVID-19. So these were some of the interesting experiments which we did, because the things definitely are not going to be normal anymore. It will take time for us as industry to get back to pre-COVID-19 days. Yes, we are getting back, we are on our path. But what I thought is that either go absolutely the conventional way and talk on the circular economy part, or I know when I saw the brochure, there are stalwarts, there are academicians here, and they are going to present their papers. My endeavor here with this small talk was to leave a thought behind, leave an idea behind, and see if we can do similar things with human resources as well, and just not those products. Mind you, I am not treating human resource as a commodity, but I am trying my level best to extract as much value as possible. So I would just like to leave this thought behind. I thank you all for inviting me. I'm part of the alumni association as well, and as much as possible I try my level best to help institute whatever I am today, the head of Asia Pacific. I definitely owe to the Bharatiya Vidyapeeth University, Bharatiya Vidyapeeth College, and definitely I cherish my college days. Thank you once again for inviting me here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Anjali Kalse ma'am to show our gratitude towards Amit sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Great, sir. Thank you.
I would also like to thank Dr. Anjali Kalse for all the support here.
Yes. 1 minute, sir.
Now I would like to call upon stage Dr. Purvi Pujari, convener of this international conference, to address the gathering.
Respected Regional Director Dr. Vilasrao Kadam sir, Director Dr. Anjali Kalse ma'am, our chief guest for the day, Mr. Amit Debnis, our star alumni, esteemed colleagues and dear students. It's an honor and privilege to be the convener of this AICTE sponsored hybrid international conference on circular economy, management, industry 4.0, leading towards sustainability. From the beginning, this conference has all been about collaboration, be it collaboration with AICTE or collaboration with APJ School of Management or collaboration with stalwarts from industry and academia. I feel collaboration is the key to success when we are pursuing academic excellence. So I feel it comes very handy when you are thrown challenges by the pandemic, like shift from online teaching, shift to online teaching, from face-to-face teaching, or hosting such research-based programs. Teamwork comes very handy. And I love this quote by Helen Keller that alone I can do so little, together we can do so much. So collaboration really helps. And as our planet moves towards growth, prosperity and progress, we must take into account that we should give back this earth in a better shape to the future generations compared to the way we got it. And what better way to achieve that than to brainstorm in the next 2 days about circularity and sustainability. So here we are organizing this international conference. The journey started when me and Professor Anuj, we were writing a research paper on circular economy. And while writing that research paper, we realized that India has been a pioneer of circularity. From generations, we have been knowing that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. From generations, we knew that we have to give back the earth what we take from it. We have made earth, water, air, soil our gods. And from India has the thought process started that circularity has to be there. And whether it's agriculture, whether it's our day-to-day life, we do absorb circularity, and as I think Mr. Amit Tipnis has rightly said, circularity has seeped into all the aspects, be it production, be it human resource, be it marketing, logistic or packaging, anything. Everything is going towards circularity, and I feel that was the right way to come together and brainstorm what we can do as intellectuals, how industry and academia can come together, collaborate and decide how to bring circularity into our systems, and also to think about how this sustainability can be our motto of life. And next 2 days, I feel all of us should learn about the upcoming industrial trends and latest models of circularity and sustainability. So here's to learning. Let's hope all of us will learn new things, new industrial trends and upcoming models about circularity and sustainability. Thank you all for joining us for the inauguration ceremony. We can move towards 2 days of learning here on. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Without any forethought, I request everyone to kindly proceed for breakfast, arranged in S1 and S2 blocks. Thank you for being the wonderful audience and patiently listening, everyone. And all of you can proceed for breakfast. Thank you.